Hello everybody, it's Julia here with another video for you in my Learn Tarot series. This is video number 14 and today we're going to be looking at the Death card, which is card number 13 in the deck. And this card is ruled by Scorpio and by Pluto. So today we're going to follow the same format as we did in my other videos. I'm going to tell you what the Death card means to me. We're going to have a look at some of the cards, some of my tarot cards and the different symbologies within the cards. And then I'm going to give you some questions that if you were resonating with this energy, if it's something that you'd like to spend some time reflecting upon, these questions will certainly help you to do that. So, this is a very traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot card. This is the Radiant Rider-Waite. And the Death card can indicate, it can indicate the death of a person, but very rarely, I find. I think far more likely, really, this card is likely to indicate a transformation or a change of some kind. When we think about the tarot cards, they obviously can represent all aspects of our life, but thankfully, people dying in our lives, although they are things that happen to all of us, thankfully they're fairly rare. We don't experience the death of people, as commonly as we experience the death of situations and things in our lives, like the ending of a job, the ending of a relationship, the ending of a phase of one kind or another in our life. These are all issues that relate to the Death card and are far more common to us in our day-to-day lives. So, Scorpio, the sign that represents this card, has three phases. I think there's the scorpion, the serpent and the eagle, and they all indicate transition from the lowest to the highest. And to me that represents that sometimes you have to be brought so low that you can climb ever higher. And always remember with this card that even though this is a card of darkness, there's always a sunrise here with this card too. So death is not the end, it's just a natural part of an ongoing cycle of our lives. You die so that you can be reborn. Situations die and end so that new situations can start and be reborn. This is always a time of change. The querent could feel sad or empty at this time, but this will lead the querent to rise like a phoenix from the ashes. Questions that could be relevant to this card are, do we really get to the roots of our problems? Or do we just cope and continually cut the tops off them for them to regrow and come back again? I think it's always important to remember with this card that you will have the strength and the support that you need to accept new situations. So it's important not to resist change and new situations. It's important to leave the past behind and allow experience to be your teacher. So in its higher realms, this card indicates change, transformation, clearing the way, endings, beginnings, new ideas or developments and rebirth. In its lower realms, this card can represent being stagnant, stuck, an inertia, a partial change, illness, or fear of death. So, I know this card historically always gets people going, oh my God, it's the Death card, it's the Death card. I've seen in so many TV programs, comedies. I think there was a comedy a few years ago called Nighty Night in the UK, where Jill, who's this terrible woman in it, says that she can read tarot cards, and she comes up with 3 death cards, I think, for the person she's reading for. And it's always like, the death card. But obviously, that's not what the death card is, really, in reality. So, so as I said, this is the Radiant Rider-Waite death card here. Death rides a white horse. He holds an emblem of a white rose, which you commonly see at funerals. People send white roses. It seems to be a symbol of purity, I think, perhaps a white rose. And the pale horse here just continues his remorseless and steady sort of march onwards, regardless of whether you're rich or poor, male or female, a child or a grown-up, as you can see in this card. Death is coming for us all, isn't he? No matter your station in life, you can't buy your way out of death. You know, it is the one thing that we can kind of rely on in life, isn't it, I guess, really. But as I said before, when I was saying about this card, we always, in this traditional card here, we always see the sun rising. It's always coming up between these 2 towers here. I'm not quite sure of the symbology of the 2 towers, but the sun is always rising between them. And I think that that represents transformation, doesn't it? This rising like a phoenix from the ashes. In the zombie card here, well, there has definitely been a transformation here, hasn't there? He's been put back together. It's a kind of rebirth, isn't it? But as a zombie, perhaps it's still a new beginning anyway. I don't know. Just trying to see what else there is in this card. I haven't looked at it. It's just reading some of the bits in here. Nearly all cases result from bites. The disease is 100% fatal. So this card, the words on this card, it's talking about transformation. Even if it is coming back to life as a zombie, it's still a new phase in this person's life, isn't it? So this is the tarot of oppositions, and in this card we see the light and the shadow sides of this card. I'm going to read from the book for you for this one, because I really like the little guidebook that comes with this deck. It's not very often I do enjoy a tarot guidebook, but I do this one. So, life and death are forces between which consciousness dances. If you dance willingly, there will be no pain. If you resist the dance, you will suffer. Do not oppose the current of the river of life. Follow it with open eyes and acceptance, and you will find that everything has a meaning and that every action finds its place in your existence. In its positive attributes, here is the change that is coming: the regeneration, the end of what was causing obstacles. The strength of the renewal will be proportional to the space you create in your mind and soul. So attend to your physical spaces as well, removing what is not needed and letting the fresh wind blow through. And in its shadow attributes here, where we see no sun rising, do we? There's no sun rising on the horizon there. The book says those who cannot surrender to transformation will be forced by events and spiritual laws. Winds are coming that will push your life towards further shores. Prepare for the end of attachments and surrender to the arrival of mystery. a break with the past is necessary to realise your future. So that's very, very interesting, isn't it? And in this card here, this is the Book of Shadows, Volume 2. We have an extremely contemporary take on death. This is an ending, isn't it? And a very sad and painful ending. You know, we've got the estate agent there putting the house up for sale. Looks like Dad's packing the car. The children are on the porch there. This family could be splitting up. Dad could be leaving home, or they could just be being forced to sell their house for financial reasons. But this is a very, very common theme in our lives, isn't it? This really is how death affects us as people these days, I think, a lot of the time. So this is difficult emotions, isn't it? There could be anger, loss, despair, sadness. But really, these are just the phases of life. They're experienced by everybody at some point. And I think that what's important with these things is that this pain, this suffering needs to open us. It needs to open our hearts and make us more compassionate and kind to ourselves and others, not close us, which is what can so often happen to people who've suffered a lot of loss in their life. It can kind of close them down and shut them in on themselves, whereas really it needs to open you to life, if that's at all possible. We've got the Psychic tarot deck here. Excuse me. Actually, I'm going to have a drink. I just realised I've been talking for quite a while. So yeah, this is the Psychic Tarot, and the word on this card is transformation, not death. This talks of the ebb and flow of life cycles, that nothing is motionless, everything is in movement, you can't live in the past. This card warns that a time of endings is close at hand, and it's important to let go of the old and to let in the new. Isn't that interesting? Look, that the death is like she's like an angel there, isn't she, or a fairy? And then the last card we've got here is my Dark Wood tarot card, which again is a fairly familiar theme there, isn't it, with death and the children on the ground, and death with his big scythe there, his Grim Reaper type face for the world. So I'm going to read from the book for this one as well. Because I think that this was quite interesting when I looked at the book. So, death exists in the shadow areas of our psyche, and they exist there until we're forced to deal with it. Death is not the opposite of life. Life is infinite. Death is the opposite of birth, a construct of the material world. Life's infinity resides behind the dance of birth and death. Consciousness awakens in the Fool and resolves in the complete integration at the world. But death arrives at number 13, the uncanny number of strangeness and occult significance. Death is the energy keeping the material world fresh and new. How do we integrate death's lessons? How can death teach us how to live? Death teaches us that all things change constantly from the molecular level to the mundane life. Death is ongoing like the weather. Death is the energy allowing emotions to appear, be felt and slip away, only to be replaced by new ones. Western cultures traditionally reflect the human spirit either rising to heaven or descending into hell. This is a dualistic version of the cosmos, ignoring a complexity which holds all options open simultaneously. The dark wood teaches us to befriend the darkness, to look death in the eyes and to make peace with all aspects of human existence. Death is the impermanence of the world. In its light attributes, this card represents the end of a way of being, of clearing the path, the ascent to a higher understanding, the beginning of true integration. A new beginning with a deeper understanding unfolds. But in its shadow attributes, this is forcing your hand, using aggressive power to deal with a situation, pushing people around as in a dictatorship or an abusive relationship, the need to pull things apart, and destruction for destruction's sake. So there's quite a darker take on that card there, isn't it? Which you would expect from the Darkwood Tarot, as it is a tarot of shadow work, really. So, really interesting and multi-layered energy here in the Death card, isn't it? It's really not all, ooh, as we've seen on the TV over the years. I've seen it time and time again. So anyway, if we were resonating with this energy at the moment, or we wanted to reflect upon this energy within our own lives, some important questions that we could use to ask ourselves would be, what do you need to let go of? What is being transformed? Where does the sadness come from? Have you dealt with your emotions properly? Have you felt the emotions and processed them? Or have you stuffed them away? Or even worse, projected them onto somebody else? Where is the sun shining in your life? What new growth is there? So I'll repeat those again. What do you need to let go of in life? What is being transformed within you? Where does the sadness that you feel come from? Have you dealt with your emotions properly? Have you felt those emotions and processed them? Or have you stuffed them down deep or projected them onto somebody else? Where is the sun shining in your life? Where is there new growth? So there we go. I hope that you enjoyed that, everybody. It's a really, really interesting energy, the Death card, and I shall look forward to seeing you again with our next card in this tarot series. So thank you for watching.